Welcome back, guys, to an episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we're going to talk about holiday traditions, specifically Christmas for us, but in general, what we typically do over the holidays. We're leading into that time of year. Everyone's gearing up for all that kind of stuff. So, but before we begin, anything you want to talk about today?
Yeah, no, in the spirit of the holidays, I've been doing a lot of music stuff. This episode comes out on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes.
if you haven't bought your tickets yet, you should buy a ticket to the Mike Bigger and Tara Spencer show at the Imperial Theater on Friday. There may be a trombone player you recognize here and there. It's me, in case you're curious about the shameless self-promotion as per usual. What about you? What's new with you?
Not really a whole lot, trying to go to the gym a little bit more.
Nice.
We're in that season of me trying to get back into the gym and trying to get relatively fit. And we're also into that season where, it's starting time to be visiting family and friends and things like that. So been getting ready to gear up and do that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to be taking 2 weeks off of work for the first time in my entire life.
Really? All through the Christmas holidays?
From the 18th to January 3rd. I'm not gonna be working. It's gonna be crazy. I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
It's that period of time where you never know what day it is because it's like there's holidays all the time.
Yeah.
Christmas everything feels like a weekend.
Yeah, right. So it's gonna be the first time actually taking 2 weeks off. I normally take a day off here, take a day off there, but normally I work it. But yeah, I'm actually taking 2 weeks off, which could be kind of insane. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I know what you'll do.
Play video games.
Sure. Play video games, drink beer.
Yeah, probably. I am trying to cut back on beer a little bit, so we're cutting back on drinking in general for a little bit here. I'm not fully cutting it out, but definitely cutting back from what I have been doing.
Well, that's good. That's a positive thing. I've taken that step myself over the last number of months. Except for maybe last night.
got a little crazy last night.
I mean, crazy might be a stretch, but more like old Caitlin.
Old Caitlin crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for the holidays, do you have any traditions you do with your family or friends or anything like that?
You know what? Growing up, we were kind of the family that was traditionless, and it wasn't that we didn't the tradition was that we were always together in some capacity. But we spent so much time, when I was growing up, my grandparents lived in Campbellton, and we'd go up there and we'd take turns. My sister would go with my dad and his parents, and then I'd go with my mom and her mom. And then we'd switch the following year. But there was never anything we have to do this on this date and this on this date, etc. That's just not who our family was. We just were as long as we were together, we did our thing, and it was great. How about you?
We usually do a little bit of tradition. So depending on which family we're with. So, with me and my wife, we typically try and switch years. 1 year we'll go with my family, 1 year we'll go with her family. And my family side, tradition is Christmas Eve. We'll go out to my aunt and uncle's, and my uncle cooks up a storm, and we all hang out. And it's been a tradition since I was born. I feel like they've been doing it since before then.
Wow.
Where we just hang out. We have meatballs and rice and all that kind of stuff, chicken wings, and just hang out as a family Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day we always end up going to a parent's place. And then Boxing Day we always end up going. So that's my dad's side of the family, and then my mom's side of the family on Boxing Day we always end up going to my aunt's place for a family get together.
Very nice. How do you balance that once you're married, because your wife is from Plaster Rock? So how do you balance those family traditions between two people? This is a thing that I've never actually had to encounter.
It's a lot of compromising. Sometimes it is a matter of, we typically try and do 1 year here, 1 year there. Or we'll try, we've done the combination of it all. We'll stay here for Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, get up super early in the morning, drive all the way to Plaster Rock, do the Christmas in Plaster Rock, turn around, drive all the way home. But it is that stretch of time in between Christmas Eve and Boxing Day is a kind of a hectic time for to try and keep that stuff. So it's a compromise. of flip flopping depending on what we need to do at that time.
That was us growing up too. Is that we get up, do Christmas morning, unwrap all the gifts as kids, and that was an early venture because I don't know if any of you listening have kids or have ever been around kids. You don't stay in bed super long.
Nope.
When you know that the big guys come and drop a bunch of presents. And then
I know myself as a child, I did not.
No. Although I will say, before I carry on with this business, my sister, she slept till like 8 a.m., which doesn't sound late now as an adult. But when I was up at 5,
right.
And then my parents said, you can't wake your sister up. You just have to wait till she gets up. Those are a long 3 hours.
Did you just make like the most amount of noise possible to try and wake her up?
Without getting in trouble.
Yeah. So you also had to balance when you were a kid, you go to different parents.
Well, the grandparents, luckily my parents were high school sweethearts, so they're from the same place. So that made things a little bit easier, but after we'd open all our gifts, we'd say goodbye to them and then drive to Campbellton and then spend time with our grandparents and stuff, which was always really nice. Mm-hmm. And then we turn around and come home either on Boxing Day or the day after, depending on when Christmas fell, because Dad was always working.
Yeah.
So after Christmas, back to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of people don't get Boxing Day off. It's just a regular old day for most people to work, which happens. I mean, except for stores. Stores always seem to be closed on Boxing Day.
It is a stat holiday, so people shouldn't have to work it. If they do, they're working in a place that they're getting at least paid time and a half.
I think I've always worked Boxing Day. I don't think I've ever not worked a Boxing Day.
The States are. You work for a company out of America, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've always typically worked Boxing Day. As at least as an adult, but it's typically fine for me. I don't care, especially now working from home. It's so much different working from home, because it's like everyone else is taking the time off, and it's almost like I don't really need to take the time off because I'm in the space that I'm probably going to be in, and why waste the vacation day?
Well, that's fair, except you've got the 2 weeks off this year.
Oh my goodness. Well, I had a ton of vacation time I needed to use. So, because I traveled a whole bunch last year at the beginning of the year, and I'm getting ready to travel again this year.
Where are you headed?
I'm going to Colombia. That's the main spot. So, kind of excited. Never been to Colombia. If anyone's ever been, give me some tips. What am I looking for? What's the food I need to eat while I'm in Colombia? That is my favorite thing about traveling.
Yeah, that's is the food.
Is the food. I love just getting to experience different foods.
Interesting. I don't know what the food in Colombia is
I know,
like.
right?
Do you?
I know. Neither do I. It's gonna be great.
Oh, that's fun.
But getting back to holiday traditions, so do you have anything like for New Year's Eve that you do as a tradition?
No.
I know.
No, I'm really a traditionless person. This year, I'm going to go to the comedy club.
Yeah.
Mike Dambra's doing a show, and then there's going to be an after party dance, and it looks like it's going to be a great time.
Nice. I know that I haven't been successful every year, but Melissa and Nigel, Melissa's parents typically have a lot of people over for New Year's Eve. So we will try and go to my aunt and uncle's for New Year's Eve for a bit, and then we'll try and get there to their place to go see some friends and family and whatnot. To go see like Melissa and Nigel on that side of the friends.
We met Nigel last week and the week before on the podcast, and Melissa is his better half. For those who are paying attention and don't know.
So we traditionally try and go and see them, and John always makes seafood chowder.
Oh, nice.
And it is one of the best seafood chowders. I really, really enjoy seafood chowder.
I really despise seafood chowder.
Really?
Yeah.
Just not seafood person?
Not a huge seafood person, not a huge cream soup person.
Yeah.
So really not a great combo for me.
Yeah, no kidding. But I find that this time of year, it is very traditional for people to eat that kind of thing, right? It's like seafood chowders, and I think turkey, obviously turkey, ham.
Yeah. A lot of people do lobster on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
A lot of people do Chinese food on Christmas Eve.
Yes, Chinese food is huge on Christmas Eve. Yeah. I find, yeah, traditionally in our area at least, seafood's a big one. I assume we're lucky to be on like the coast and be able to get all that stuff real cheap, because I could only imagine what lobster probably costs in like Alberta.
Well, yeah, well, that's true. And how fresh it is a
Oh yeah,
questionable.
the freshness is questionable too. Yeah, but no, we're typically lucky to do that.
'Cause they're right into lobster season right now, right?
We are, yeah, we're at the end of lobster season.
Right.
Yeah, we're at like the top end of the market for lobsters to seafood and stuff, because it's getting cold. But like, yeah, I find traditions are interesting when we talk about holidays and what people do, because there's the usual Christmas Eve, go to church. I don't know if were you ever in that kind of situation where it was Christmas Eve, go to church, because that used to be a huge thing for my family.
Well, it's a funny thing how I grew up in that my mom is Catholic and her family is Catholic. And when I was in elementary school, I went to a Catholic school in Ontario, and we lived across the street from the Catholic church and my Catholic school, next door to a retired priest. And on the other side was like a home for retired nuns, like a care home for retired nuns. So I believe we went to church in those days, but my dad, on the other hand, wasn't really a church goer at all. And so much so that on Sundays growing up, it was like dad used to say, do you want to go to church with mom or ice cream with dad? But all my friends are going to be at church. So I was like, church? And
yeah.
Which I look back on now, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Ice cream sounds way better.
Ice cream was delicious. But then when I got into my 20s, my sister, when I was in my early 20s, my sister and I were singing in the Catholic church choir. So we used to sing at midnight mass, which is, a really lovely service to sing at. We used to go to Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Rosse, and it like Maureen Beckwith she's a top notch choir conductor, and like it was a really nice thing to be part of. But I also like just being home and in bed on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I mean, so this midnight mass is actually at midnight. Is this the thing? I'm Anglican, or raised Anglican, so we didn't do a midnight mass. It was like a 9 p.m. kind of thing, and so that's kind of why the family all got together too, was because you'd all go to church and then you'd all go to someone's house and or hang out and whatever. And I remember being a kid, and just that was always a great time, because I got to hang out with my cousins and hang out with family. I always do love hanging out with family.
Well, you grow up in a place where a lot of your family lives, right?
Yes.
We often growing up would get together with my aunt and uncle who live in Quispam as well, and we'd get together and we'd have Chinese food on Christmas Eve. We did that for a few years, and that was always really nice. But ultimately, we don't have a ton of family who live nearby.
Yep.
It was always traveling to see people, and we're a pretty big extended family, so it was rare that we were ever all together at Christmas time.
Okay.
It's rare that we're ever all together at any given time, unless there's like every decade or so on the Dean side, we try to have some semblance of a reunion. But
okay. We do, so on my dad's side, on the Richards side, we do typically Christmas Eve. We typically do another get together around July, around Canada Day. And then we typically do one like in the fall when like it's corn season.
Oh, that's so nice.
So we typically have about 3 that we are always getting together for. And then of course there's always just random days that people are just like, everyone's over here. Okay, we're all going.
Oh, that's really nice.
On my mom's side, which is the Henderson side, we try and do a one at our camp that we have. Every summer we try and do, or September, we try and do like everyone can come and meet up and be here kind of deal.
Where's the camp?
It's in Henderson Settlement, on just past Belial, on your way to Cambridge Narrows.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's a nice little space up there.
Very cool.
But as far as like traditions go for holidays, that's kind of our tradition. There's a lot of eating involved though, and that's a huge thing, right? There's a lot of eating involved in traditions.
Well, and there's a lot of eating involved at the holidays.
Right.
It's like every time you turn around, it's like another meal, or you've eaten a bunch of chocolate, or what have you. I grew up in a house where my mom's always constantly worrying about what she's consuming. So there'd be like periods of like Christmas baking, and then how are we going to space this out?
Yeah.
And like, and it's always such a complicated thing for people. Anybody who battles with this issue, it's like, I'm going to make, I used to eat. Oh man, I used to eat until I made myself sick when I was a kid. I'd eat and eat and eat and eat until I threw up.
Yeah, I had that issue too. It's not really that I was sick or nothing. I just kept eating. And I still have that kind of issue where I pick a lot. It's like I'll eat the meal and then I'll go back and like pick at like a little thing here, a little thing there. And it doesn't feel like you're eating a lot, but then over the course of like a couple hours of just like picking at food, it does add up to a lot.
It sure does. And you're like, oh my God, what did I eat so much? I don't do that as much now. I try anyway, just because I don't want to make myself sick.
Right.
So on the topic of holidays, we are going to take a little Christmas break.
Yes, we're gonna take 2 weeks off. What?
And then we're gonna come back fresh at the time of year where we all want to talk.
Yes.
About this issue. So we'll be back on our next episode. Will be January 3rd. I know it'll be hard for you to live without us, but you'll persevere. And we have episodes up that you may not have caught.
There are playlists up on YouTube from Q1, Q2, Q3, and then just the entire playlist of all of our stuff. So you can always go back and listen to some of the older episodes. Maybe go back and see. I'm going to go back and see what episode 1 was like, just because I haven't listened to episode 1 and I feel like we've come a long way. And
yeah, I feel like we have too. I've actually never listened to an episode of this.
Oh my goodness.
No,
I listen to them all.
I know, because you edit them, but I can't stand the thought of listening to my own voice like that. I'm sorry that you have to.
This will be episode 42. We are 10 episodes off from like a year's worth of episodes.
You know that we made the plan for this podcast on New Year's Eve last year?
Yes, we did.
We were at Big Tide and not sober. Let's do a podcast.
It has been a year of craziness and whirlwind things in our lives, whirlwind things in the world.
Yeah.
It's just been,
Well, and they say in Love Actually that the holidays are a time where you're just supposed to share how you feel. And I just want to say doing this podcast with you is one of the best things about this year for me, Isaiah. And I've really looked forward to guaranteed seeing you every 2 weeks.
I know.
Because we've been friends for a while, but we've never hung out this consistently.
It's true.
And it's nice to see you this often and share all the happenings in my life and hear all the ones about yours. And it's just been really tremendous. And I hope you've enjoyed it and that you've all enjoyed it as much as I have.
I have appreciated our every 2 weeks get together and our ramblings and talking into the void of people and letting everyone know what we've been up to, talking about our feelings. It's been really great.
It really, really has been. And off to another year. We are taking a bit of a hiatus, but we're going to kind of come back stronger than ever.
January 3rd is when we will be back.
And I think we're going to have, barring some unforeseen circumstances, we're going to have our special guest that we've been talking about for a long time, the good doctor, my brother-in-law.
Big banger episode to start off the year.
It started off right, started off healthy, and, get back together and get on with it. We really appreciate all of you for listening.
Yes,
and
definitely.
all of that.
We definitely appreciate over the last year, you guys tuning in, listening, all the comments we've gotten, the donations, so we could get that lovely new mic so we could have more people on.
We'll have lots of guests next season, some more surprises, I'm sure, that we don't even know about yet.
That's right. It's going to be an interesting one next year, I think. But we are on hiatus. Where can people find you?
People can find me nowhere. No.
Oh.
On the internet, on TikTok at Fat Caitlin, on X at the Caitlin Dean, on Facebook I'm Caitlin Dean. You can friend me because I'm trying to have more friends than Isaiah all the time. And I already do, don't worry about it. And where else? Instagram at Kated. Where can people find you, Isaiah?
I am at Maritime Brews everywhere, and we are Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook. And then, of course, you can, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you're listening to us on, you can always see our beautiful faces on YouTube or on the YouTube. And if you are listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. It does go a long way. We definitely appreciate that. But until next year.
See you next year, Isaiah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.